welcome to NRI Pulse News with me, Namita. Today's episode is particularly special as we bring you coverage of NRI stories, our first ever live event. Over the years, we have reported on countless events, but this one holds a special place in our hearts as it's our very own. Our team put in endless hours to make this sold-out show a success, giving Atlanta's Indian American community a chance to hear the incredible stories of some of the most accomplished and influential Indian Americans. So, without any further ado, let's dive in straight into the report. To celebrate 20 years of service to the community, NRI Pulse meaningfully showcased the personal stories of 7 Atlanta Indian Americans, each of whom shared their inspiring journeys with the community. It was no surprise that Abhira Hall in Sankranti Restaurant, Johns Creek, was filled to capacity on September 22, 2024, with guests eagerly cheering as each story unfolded. Among the honoured guests were Consul General Ramesh Babu and Johns Creek City Council member Dilip Tunki. The night fittingly opened with the incredible story of NRI Pulse, narrated by its founder and editor-in-chief Veena Rao. She recounted how the idea to launch the newspaper came from a journalist friend.
Okay, so 20 years ago, a journalist friend came to me and he said, why not launch a newspaper to serve the Indian American community? So once that idea was planted in my head, it took hold of me, it consumed me. The problem was I was a journalist, but I had no experience running a business, leave alone a newspaper business, and I had zero capital. So I went to some of the biggest Indian-owned businesses in town, and I tried to sell them my glamorous idea. So fortunately for me, 5 of the biggest Indian American owned businesses agreed to advertise in the inaugural issue. And that's how NRI Pulse was born. With the help of a graphic designer friend, I put the inaugural issue together, found a press in Jonesboro, deep down in South Atlanta. And the paper was printed, it was waiting to be picked up. There was only one problem. As a recent immigrant, I had never driven on the interstate. And you cannot go to Jonesboro unless you take 85 and then 75, right? So, and also I had a beat up 2-door Mitsubishi Lancer, which I had bought at a pawn shop for $650. And this car had a mind of its own. It refused to go over 30 miles an hour. So how was I going to go on 85, right? So I went to my friend Frances West and I said, Frances, will you please take me to the press? And so she said, absolutely not. I will, sit with you. I'll, sit beside you. I'll help you load. I'll help you unload. But you have to drive yourself. And so I did, very, very nervously, of course, but I drove on the interstate. And finally, when I picked up the inaugural copy, the freshly printed, crisp copy of NRI, the first issue of NRI Pulse, it was like driving to the summit of Mount Everest. It was terrifying and it was thrilling. Why? Because I had taken the first step to conquer my fear. So, running NRI Pulse has not been was not the glamorous mission that I thought it would be in 2006 when I launched the paper. But, there were, for 20 years, all kinds of challenges, a learning curve, the recession of 2008. But after 20 years, we are still around, we are still growing, and we are a team of 3 very committed, very enthusiastic women. You see them here. Jyotsna, to your right. Jyotsna Hegde. and Namita Dogra to your left. This is the core team, but we also have several other members. We'll be honoring a few of them here tonight. And so this is the story of NRI Pulse. We have 7, so before I say that, let me add that the biggest takeaway from my story is that it's okay to dream, it's okay to dream big, even if you don't really feel like you're up to the task. If you're passionate about something, you will find hidden reserves to go after your dream. That, I think, is the takeaway from my story. So moving on to the 7 storytellers of tonight. You've all lived your lives with all its beauty and challenges and meaning and purpose. Now it's time to share it with the world.
Among the speakers, humility personified Dr. Jagdish Sheth shared his legendary journey in the world of marketing and thought leadership.
My story begins in the middle of my life. 1961, when I came to America to do my MBA at University of Pittsburgh, and I had no idea about this culture. My school had a regular requirement that you had to wear a suit with a tie, white shirt, and basically dress up like an IBM person or something like that. And I had no white shirts. I have a very good friend, David Miller, was my classmate. I did not have any car. I did not know how to drive even. But he said, okay, I will take you downtown to a store that he knew, Kaufman was the name, and I went to buy my shirt. My second story is something similar again. I was the only foreign student in the whole class of about 70, 75 students. And they don't know how to pronounce our name, Jagdish, Yagdish, etc. So they told me, we'll call you Jag, like in Jaguar. And ever since that association, I've been dreaming of owning a Jaguar with a license plate Jag's Jag.
Indra Subedi, a Bhutanese refugee turned community leader, shared her story of resilience and her work as a registered nurse and executive director of the Pritam Adhikari Education Foundation.
When I was a child in early 90s, my family, along with 100,000 fellow Nepali-speaking Bhutanese, were forced to flee Bhutan due to ethnic cleansing policy of our government. The only memories I have about my birthplace is of my mom crying while giving away all our cows, goats, and sheep to our neighbor. For 17 years, I lived in I schooled UN refugee camp in Nepal. Life in refugee camp was terrible.
Dr. Neil Garu, a cardiologist and philanthropist, recounted his remarkable rise from humble village roots to extraordinary successes, including owning a bank in America, an achievement that is virtually unheard of for a doctor. In addition to his medical career, he serves on the Georgia Student Finance Commission Board of Commissioners. His story left many in awe of his accomplishments and his ability to break barriers in multiple fields.
My early education occurred in a small village of about 150 people, without running water, a sewer system, electricity, or even roads. Please imagine a village like that. The one-room schoolhouse taught 18 students from the 1st to the 5th grades, taught by one teacher. There was no chalkboard or even paper, pencils, or pens. We walked to a small river about a half a mile away every 2 weeks to scoop up some sand and bring it back to school in a basket we carried on our heads. We dumped the sand on the floor where we sat and wrote on it with our fingers. The beauty of writing in sand is that all a mistake requires is a swipe of your hand and you start all over.
Archit Sheshadri, a global journalist and TV host, captivated the audience and his story of living an authentic life, embracing his identity and challenging societal norms with courage and grace.
And tonight, I am grateful and honored to share my own story about coming out as an Indian American gay man living in Atlanta, Georgia, and to help those who are struggling, who may still be struggling, and to normalize this conversation that yes, you can be this and you can also be okay, and you can make this your own journey and story. I hope my story inspires you to live life on your terms, unapologetically, and not waiting for society's approval. They were the 3 hardest words for me to ever tell anyone: myself, my family, my friends, the world. I am gay.
Judge Neera Bahal and Dr. Gulshan Harji shared their own powerful narratives of perseverance and giving back to the community.
It was a sultry, usual summer day in Atlanta, July 29, 1999. Today, Dean was to attend a second chance birthday party at our daughter's pre-K, literally only 3 miles from his work. He missed her birthday party the day before. Our son called my clinic at midday multiple times. This last time he said, "Mom, please listen." He said, "It's the exact floor and the exact suite where Dad works." At 5:30, Dad had not picked up our daughter, and his phone was dead. In the meantime, our son, in frustration and fear, proceeded to the site of the shooting. After some 5 hours, all helicopters ceased to fly over the crime scene. The sheriff walked up to him with a wallet, which he identified. He was told to proceed home to his mom. Late that night, as cars and people gathered in the hot evening in the driveway of our construction site, a pastor visited our tiny temporary garage apartment with balloons everywhere in the apartment. And with my 2 children by my side and several family members, he says to me, "Mrs. Delawala, I'm sorry, your husband has passed."
The whole hell broke down, our world collapsed. So hotel was sold, we didn't get anything, and our immigration papers were still in process because my husband's brother had filed, so we had to leave the country. Where do we go? I wasn't going to go back to India or London. So luckily, my husband also had a Canadian citizenship. So we ended up going to Canada to do it. I told my husband, I said, "I want to be a judge." And he said, "Go back to sleep. You got to be a lawyer first," because I had my science degree, so I needed to be a lawyer first. Well, I take challenges very well. He knows that. So I started exploring, what am I going to do? How? It was a lot of hard work. Just to even have my degrees, to compatible with the US degrees, I had to take so many courses. Science back again. I wasn't going to give up.
While Madhu Sheth shared her story of finding wings in a distant land, focusing on philanthropy and education from the Sheth Family Foundation.
Being a vegetarian was a big challenge. There were no Indian grocery stores in the whole country. There was no resources or any support system in those days. For Americans, the word vegetarianism was a novelty. They didn't even know what the vegetarian means. They thought all we did eat was lettuce and carrots. That's all they thought.
In his address, Consul General spoke about the lasting legacy and contributions of Indian Americans in the region, acknowledging the importance of events like NRI stories in preserving the rich tapestry of experiences.
It's a great thing by NRI Pulse to bring out the success stories of few identified people. While I heard the story of Indra, so touching. So people have just gone through everything and to reach here. It's easy to say that you guys are living happily, but when you go back and dig, so much ups and downs, a lot of perseverance, hard work. So I think kudos to NRI Pulse team to bring out the success stories. It's not only the success of those who achieved, it's the inspiration for the next generation. And from the stories you can learn from their ways, how they handle the issues, how strong they were to cross the hurdles. So it's a great initiative. All the best wishes. Keep continue to do these success stories. I'll just like to say there are only 8 or 9 stories will be heard today. I'll believe that each one of us has an untold story, which is inspiring to ourselves, to the people who are surrounding us. So kudos to all the untold stories here, and thank you for inviting me. All the best.
Background of him. Mo Jewels is the premier jewelry brand with roots in India, now shining brightly on the global stage. Part of the renowned Opal Group, Mo Jewels has built a reputation for crafting stunning, ethically sourced diamonds and exquisite jewelry. With over 400 employees and a turnover exceeding 100 million, they offer exclusive designs that combine elegance and value.
The evening also paid tribute to NRI Pulse's 20-year legacy, with special recognition given to long-time contributors Mahadev Desai for his community reports and Lakshmi Rao for her beloved What's Cooking column. Both were honored for their dedication and lasting contributions to NRI Pulse's mission of storytelling.
Indians were not allowed to own land in Kenya, and Africans were permitted only subsistence farming. In civil service, some of the departments like immigration, income tax, judiciary, etc. were run exclusively by white expatriates.
Who came to this country in 1961? Raise your hands. Oh, 61? Oh, I thought I came before you, Dr. Seth. Okay. Anyhow, it was an experience and adventurous times. No cell phones, nothing. So we just came long ways.
The event's entertainment included a vibrant Kathak performance by students from Aparna's Dance Academy, and soulful renditions by singers Sri Priya Srinivas and Josna Kenanu, adding cultural flair to the evening. NRI Pulse also spoke to several speakers and guests to gather their thoughts on the event.
I was able to relate to the concept and the theme of this event, which is NRI success stories. No success comes without pain. You can put a lot of effort, you can bring a lot of knowledge, but you also need to have the right circumstances to be successful. And a place like the United States and a city like Atlanta, is a great platform for a small company like us to succeed. And at the same time, we can draw from the from the great stories. There's Neela Garu, who ran a bank being a cardiologist. I mean, I don't think you can get a more inspiring story than that. And the amount of faith his kids had in him and his friends had in him. So this is a very, very uplifting thing. And more such events should be organized, and I'm sure we will sponsor almost all of them going forward.
Many remarked that it was a unique experience, being the first ever event of its kind hosted by NRI Pulse, creating a space for intimate personal stories and heartfelt reflections.
It's really funny. I actually had on my vision board to have a TED Talk, and I feel like this has come pretty close to that, because I think those kind of platforms we don't really see in the Atlanta community. I've lived here for almost 3 decades, and this is such an amazing, inspiring conversation, not just to share my own story, but to hear so many people. We heard about so many different things, whether it's about gun violence, about switching careers, but ultimately all of us have stories to tell, and I think everyone that was here attending can walk away feeling a little bit more inspired, not only about the community, but about themselves and the things that we can do to make the world a little bit happier.
And this is such a great event where we pass on the information from the experienced generation to the younger generation so that they can pick up the mantle and become very successful people in what they're doing, not just for their families, but for the communities they live in.
Guests expressed how inspiring it was to hear stories of grit and success from the members of the community.
And attending this, we can see, their life, personal life. We know them only through the like social media, but not like one-on-one interaction. So this kind of events will help to see how is their life, how they reached this success with a lot of ups and downs in the behind the scene or personal life. And this is basically definitely inspiration to the next generation. Okay, we may have some ups and downs, but we should not give up. We need to keep going. It's a houseful and excellent crowd, and everybody is listening and everybody is enjoying, in fact, the stories. And I'm glad, I'm able to attend today.
I think NRI Pulse is one of the best online newspaper or magazine, whatever you like to call. I like to read every column. It brings the news in a way that is very impactful. Every reporter who writes their story is incredible. I think NRI Pulse is a great platform to start this whole series, which is primarily about NRI stories. All of us have stories. Everybody has a story. And I think this is the start of a long journey, because recording these stories is very critical for just memory of the immigrants who came in here and have done very well or have suffered quite a lot, either way. All of us face challenges. And I think the challenges, how do you overcome the challenges? How can you inspire others to say, keep up doing what you are doing? I think all of those messages, it's a very good public service in my view. And so I'm very pleased to participate.
Rao extended deep gratitude to the sponsors whose support made the event possible. Platinum sponsor Mo Jewels, the Shade Family Foundation, Sankranti Restaurant, Home Trust Bank, Method Hub, and Apne Wala were all recognized for their contributions, along with many others. Rao also expressed heartfelt thanks to her hardworking team, including Jyotsna Hegre and Namita Dogra Sudan, for their behind-the-scenes efforts. As the night came to a close, the sentiment was captured beautifully in a Native American proverb. Tell me the facts and I'll learn. Tell me the truth and I'll believe. But tell me a story and it will live in my heart forever. We at NRI Pulse truly hope these stories are etched in your hearts and cherished for years to come.